Dearly beloved, we are gathered here to talk about the movies. Welcome to episode 24 of The Movie Proposal. I am Skye Jitani, and you are?
I'm Josh Lindsay. Hey,
and
everybody.
You are?
Jason Rugg.
All right, we're back for another episode. We're going to start off by talking about something old. Josh, what's your old movie that you want to recommend everybody?
All right, so this weekend was movie weekend. My wife and older daughter were out of town, so my youngest two and I watched a bunch of movies.
It was like beautiful outside.
No, we went outside a bunch, but in the evening you got to do something.
Okay.
So one of the movies we watched was An American Tail.
Oh yeah, Fievel.
Yeah. Don Bluth, and actually Steven Spielberg's first animated project.
How many animated projects has he done?
Well, a couple. He did. Actually, don't quiz me on this. I know he's done others.
Okay.
Some like CGI type. Didn't he do the Polar Express one or?
He was involved.
He's,
I don't know
yeah.
if he directed it.
That's creepy.
No. Well, he didn't direct this either. He was just executive producer.
Okay, so
But
I remember that movie.
Kathleen Kennedy, Frank Marshall were all involved. Little family immigrates from Russia in like the 1800s. But it was interesting because my kids had seen Fiddler on the Roof, and they saw at the end of the movie the Russians coming in and kicking the Jews out. And at the end of the movie, they're headed to America.
Yeah.
Well, this movie picks up where they're even kicked out and they're actually getting to America.
Except they're mice.
Yeah.
But
it's a really sweet movie, and it's 2D animation with a tiny bit of 3D. I show the trailer to my kids, and immediately when they see the opening, like Universal symbol,
they're like, old.
They're like, "This is old, Dad."
Yeah.
But they loved it. It was a great movie.
Speaking of, just the other day, I was trying to figure out a movie to watch with my son, and we were flipping through Netflix or whatever. I forget what it was. Anyway, I saw Gremlins was up there.
Oh,
and this is not my recommendation yet for something old, but I just had Isaac watch the trailer. And again, the moment, I think it was Warner Brothers or Universal, one of those logos comes up, he just looks at me like, "Are you kidding me?" And the trailer is really horrible.
Right.
I mean, it's really bad.
Was there a lot of like narration?
Yes, a lot of narration, no good action. It just looked dumb. It looked really dumb.
It is amazing how far our trailers have come.
Yeah, we're not watching old trailers anymore because they're never going to want to watch any of these movies.
Right.
So, okay. So, I mean, any big takeaway from American Tail?
Well, it's from I think it's 1986.
1991.
Oh,
no, really? 91. Yeah.
For real?
No, that's Fievel Goes West.
Oh. An American.
That's the sequel.
Okay.
They made a
It said
sequel.
Spielberg was only involved in that one.
No.
That's what it said.
Well, that's wrong because it opens. It says a Spielberg film.
Yeah, 1986. You're right.
Executive producers were also Frank Marshall, Kathleen Kennedy, his go-to people.
Kathleen Kennedy's done everything in pop culture that has influenced my life.
That's true.
It's pretty much all.
Yeah, and she has Spielberg to thank for that.
Right. Okay.
But I think it's a sweet story. Like it's got heavy topics. A child losing his family, immigration. People, I mean, there are these heavy themes of like, these families coming from different countries and people not wanting them to be there and then being taken advantage of by the Americans that are already there, their names being changed when they arrive and having to deal with poverty and so forth.
It's a classic immigrant story.
It is.
Right.
But it's very hopeful. It's got, great, sweet little songs. The animation's fantastic. So I think it's worth checking out.
I do think it's kind of funny that it's a story about immigrant rodents coming to New York.
Because now there's a bunch of them.
Well, yeah, I think we need to close the borders there and not allow any more rodents into New York.
I was watching this wondering, just as a whole, like, why do so many films have mice as like the main characters? Because we also watch The Secret of Nim, and then mice in there, Mickey Mouse.
Right, Mickey Mouse.
And there's just something about
Tom and Jerry.
Right. Because I don't know that mice are really, I guess mice are cute. Rats certainly aren't cute, but the idea that people would want to watch a story about mice running around and living their lives, and I don't know, there's some type of attraction there.
Merchandising.
There you go.
Easy to manufacture and sell. Okay, I'm also my something old is also from the 1980s, also set in New York City.
Oh.
It's a little different, however.
It's not. I'm not going to guess. Go ahead.
1987's Wall Street. Now,
yeah, I was going to bring that up.
It's an Oliver Stone movie. I am not the biggest Oliver Stone fan. I think he injects his politics a little bit too much, and not not that you can't inject politics into your filmmaking, but I don't agree with all of his politics.
Sure.
So that's part of it. But this is my favorite movie of his for sure. So it's 1987. Michael Douglas plays a Wall Street banker. What are they called? He's a
Broker?
He's not a broker. He buys up troubled companies and then liquidated them.
I don't know what that's called.
Anyway, I
He
forget.
calls him a stockbroker.
Yeah, he's a stockbroker, but ultimately what he does is he finds troubled businesses, buys them.
He's an angel investor.
Right.
Corporate raider?
Corporate raider, yeah, that's
okay.
really what he is. So he buys them under the auspices of we're going to turn around the company and make it strong again. But in reality, all he's going to do is sell off the different parts of the company because they're worth more broken up than they are
Right.
together. So people end up losing jobs. But this is the film that made famous the line "Greed is good,"
Right.
And it kind of has come to exemplify the me generation of the 1980s. And the reason I chose this movie is it's a really brilliant movie. It's got Martin Sheen in it also, who's one of my favorites, and Charlie Sheen, who's not one of my favorites, but they actually play father and son in the film. But what it kind of exemplifies to me is something that is in the main movie we're going to talk about today, which is there's the brilliance of the American capitalist system and the free market, which Alexander Hamilton in many ways originated. And yet you see the dark side of it. You can see how it can be so dehumanizing and fuel. I mean, one of the reasons the American system works is because it has a proper understanding of human greed and the motivation of greed, but it also fuels that to a degree that's kind of frightening. So it's an interesting exploration of the necessity of the American enterprise system, but the way it can steamroll people and destroy people and communities and all that. So it's a really well-made movie, and it's great characterization.
Did you see the sequel?
I did not see the sequel because that came out only recently.
Fairly. I haven't. I actually have not seen Wall Street. I've only seen scenes.
You need to see Wall Street.
All right.
Yeah, you'll like it.
Okay.
And there's this great moment where Michael Douglas is walking on a beach somewhere, and he's got one of those original giant cell phones.
As big as a brick.
Like you're calling in air support kind of, cell phones. But back then in 1987, it was shocking to see somebody walking on the beach talking on the phone. Like you've never seen this before. So
Today it's shocking to see someone without a phone.
Yeah, so it's definitely a period piece in that regard. But yeah, Wall Street, Oliver Stone's film, definitely worth seeing. Okay, let's get on to our something new because you'll understand in a second why I mentioned Wall Street. Introduce the film.
So The Founder, which is the story of Ray Kroc and McDonald's. It's new to Netflix, so we watched it recently. The tagline is the story of Ray Kroc, a salesman who turned two brothers' innovative fast food eatery, McDonald's, into the biggest restaurant business in the world with a combination of ambition, persistence, and ruthlessness.
Yes. Okay. I've been really looking forward to seeing this movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, me too.
What's your proposal?
All right. I propose that The Founder is an entertaining movie that unfortunately perpetuates a favorite Hollywood stereotype. Successful business owners are jerks.
Okay. All right. But do you... Okay. I got to dig into that a little bit.
Okay, so I love the movie. It's very entertaining.
Like, did you think it was inaccurate to the Ray Kroc story?
No. What it's doing is I think Hollywood likes to latch on to these types of stories, and so the feeling you get from Hollywood, based on all the movies that you add up when you've got a business or a business owner at the center of it, is that business is bad, corporations are bad. People who are successful have to be ruthless and jerks and they're horrible people.
Take advantage of others.
Absolutely, because how else could you be successful?
Yeah.
Now, that might be true for Ray Kroc.
Yeah.
And obviously, they only told one side of the story, but there are a lot of things that are obviously true about his story that make him, wow, he's not the family man you might have thought that he was.
He's not Ronald McDonald.
Right. Yeah. But it just continues to perpetuate that idea that Hollywood, in my opinion, loves to make corporations and people who are successful in business as they're the bad guys.
They could have named this movie, instead of The Founder, it could have been The Hamburglar.
That's actually really good, yeah.
No, I hear what you're saying. I think it's true. Let me give you my proposal. We
right.
can kind of go back and forth
Sure.
because it's again slightly related to what I said about Wall Street. So I propose that the founder captures everything that is right and wrong with America.
Everything that is right and wrong with America.
So let me unpack that for a
for
second. Like the first third of the movie or so, when you are introduced to the McDonald brothers, the guys who started the first restaurant in San Bernardino, California, and Ray Kroc discovers them and is introduced to their system for making fast food. They're the ones who invented the fast food system, and they're showing how these two brothers came up with this idea,
Which was fascinating,
and how they perfected it. And you sit back, at least I sat back, and I go, that is America. Like, just brilliant, creative. They saw an opportunity. They perfected it. I'm saturated in American history right now because of some stuff I'll talk about later, but it has been true of our culture from the get-go, and including the immigrants that come here, is it's all about figuring out a better way, a new way, to be innovative and creative. And so when I'm hearing the story about these two brothers and what they did, I was like, it's just brilliant. I mean, it's fascinating, and it made me kind of swell with a bit of pride. I know it's probably killed hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people with clogged arteries and all, but it's brilliant. Right? It's that, for me, that kind of captured that American spirit of we come up with things that no one's ever thought of before, and we perfect them, and there's no problem we can't overcome or solve. And that part I love, and it kind of captured that gung-ho grit of American ingenuity. Everything that's wrong with America is also showed how someone comes in and essentially stole the idea and swindled the originators out of their fortune for what they invented. So it also shows that dark side of, and that's where the connection is with Wall Street. The movie Wall Street is, there's this brilliant side of the capitalist system, and then there's the dark side of how it can steamroll people and destroy them.
Right.
So you kind of have to take the good and take the bad.
Yeah.
And for me, that this movie it captures that dilemma of the American system. And there's that wonderful moment in the middle of the movie where Ray Kroc is trying to sell the McDonald's brothers on the idea of franchising. And he talks about how he goes to all these little towns all over the country, and he sees two things. He sees churches with crosses, and he sees civic buildings or municipal buildings with American flags.
Yep.
And he was saying McDonald's could be the third ubiquitous entity in every town, and the golden arches could be like the cross and the American flag. And you realize that McDonald's really is a symbol of America.
It is.
Everywhere in the world you go, I've been to McDonald's all over the world, it is a symbol of America. And he succeeded at it, but in that regard, for me, it symbolizes what is really amazing about America and also what is not so amazing about it. So for me, this movie wasn't just about McDonald's, it was about America.
Yeah, I think like a guy like what Ray Kroc had going for him was vision, and he was driven. And so to have a vision to say like this can be literally all across America and equate it to the American flag, that's pretty bold.
And the cross.
That's true.
Let's not forget that. And I'm going to come back to that in a minute.
And I thought of you as soon as he said that. He equated it, to a church or something like that. So he saw something that other people couldn't see. The way he went about it is, you could argue in the movie that he stole it from the brothers, and they were certainly the losers in the equation.
Yeah.
And then Ray Kroc was equated as the winner in terms of like he got what he wanted and he had to step on people to get there. And so it is kind of this, I don't know what you would call it, where it's like, wow, this is great, America, good things. But then when you find out how he got there, and I think a lot of people probably wouldn't be surprised by the backstory or probably know about it, but it's so ingrained that it doesn't really stop people from, well, maybe we shouldn't eat at McDonald's.
Well, and it reminds me a little bit, did you see The Social Network?
Yes.
About the origins of Facebook. Aaron Sorkin wrote that screenplay.
Right.
A very similar kind of story where two partners begin Facebook, and one of them basically screws the other one out of the company.
Right.
And those kinds of stories are everywhere in American history and enterprise. It's very, very common. I think what was heartbreaking in this case was not, I mean, Ray Kroc was a visionary, and the McDonald's brothers were very provincial and kind of just wanted to maintain their little thing. So I get the tension there, but what was heartbreaking is at the end, and spoiler, when Ray Kroc is buying them out once and for all for about $2.7 million, part of the agreement was that the McDonald's brothers would continue to get 1% of profits from McDonald's every year. But for various reasons, they didn't put it in the contract. It was a handshake. And that apparently was not honored.
Right.
So what you're kind of getting...
Well, the whole, first of all, they were
naive. They were very naive.
That was like, because the way the movie worded it, it was that they couldn't prove it. And that's one of those things where it's a movie, they got an hour and a half to tell a story.
And they also didn't want to get sued by McDonald's.
Probably.
Because they had to, I mean, if they said this is what happened definitively, and McDonald's could say, no, it didn't.
Right. Because it really is one word versus, the other. And in the beginning, these guys were very much like, how can we control what Ray Kroc will and will not do? Like, well, we'll have it in a contract. And then when it comes to the most, the biggest dollar amount, in the movie, the McDonald's brothers just roll over and they're like, okay, well, handshake deal. We won't put it in the contract. And it was kind of like, who knows if that's true or not? Because they implied at the end that it couldn't be proven, that someone said that happened.
Yeah.
Someone else said it didn't happen. It can't be proven, so it's a big question mark.
Yeah, but true, it is a question mark. But I don't think you can walk away from this story and say that Ray Kroc was ethical.
Oh no.
So
right
in that regard, it isn't like we're trying to disparage somebody who's got an immaculate
and this is not a defense of Ray Kroc, but more of what's interesting is what Hollywood does is they've got to make the McDonald's brothers very likable,
right? Sympathetic.
You got there can be nothing wrong with them really, except that maybe that they just they had a brilliant idea, but they weren't business savvy enough. Right. Maybe that was their only flaw. Which in reality, these guys could have been jerks too. We don't know from the movie. From the movie, these guys are the sweetest brothers. Are like just a little bit of stress causes this guy some grief in his heart. And he wants to see his brother win, and so they really played that up. And they made Michael Keaton's guy, this guy that you were rooting for in the beginning, he is a jerk, which might be true, but we don't know the truth about the McDonald's brothers either.
Okay, put aside personalities and what we can and can't know about them. The other fact at the end of the movie, which is kind of heartbreaking, is the original McDonald's brothers restaurant in San Bernardino. Yeah. They didn't realize when they signed this deal with Ray Kroc, they could no longer use the name McDonald's.
Right.
Ray Kroc builds a franchise McDonald's right across the street and ends up putting the original brothers out of business. I mean, that's kind of... That was ruthless.
I thought that was actually more ruthless than not putting the 1% residuals in the contract.
Or even letting them keep the name and allowing that to be the original McDonald's restaurant. I mean, he was ruthless.
He was
ruthless.
Yeah.
So... that's what I mean. There's something incredibly amazing about this story and admirable, and yet something really dark and kind of ominous. And that's that light and dark of American enterprise.
And I want to clarify one thing to everyone's listening. I am in no way defending Ray Kroc or what he did. All I just want to say is that we didn't get a full picture of the McDonald's brothers, and this is a story Hollywood loves to tell and just keep pushing down the pipeline of like, look, see, once again, another successful business owner, and he is a horrible human being, which I don't believe is true when you look at most business owners. Yeah. To be successful in business, for whether you're small or large, or whatever, you have to have some type of morality, honesty, you can't be successful long term. And for most business, I understand
there's always those bad apples.
Right. But the way we think about it, based on Hollywood's perspective, is that 90% of business owners are trying to take advantage of us. Yeah. Like every sales guy out there is trying to take advantage of you. Right. Every business owner, he's in it just for the money, and there's something you don't know about.
Well, I think the difference here, Josh, and you are an exception because you are in business, but when you take, again, personalities out of it and just look at what is incentivized in our economic system, what's incentivized is winning and dominating and destroying the competition. That's what free market capitalism does. So the only thing that prevents that from destroying people is the virtue of the men and women who are actually in the system. So another movie that comes to mind that reminded me of this more recent movie is The Big Short. Did you see that one?
Yes, about the collapse.
It's about the Wall Street collapse in 07, 08. And again, you realize the system, just the system, is designed to destroy people and maximize greed. And the only thing that prevents that from happening is the virtue of the men and women involved in the system. So when you are a virtuous business person, that restrains what you do in order to care about the people that you work with, the people that you partner with, your clients, whatever they might be. But strictly speaking, without personal virtue, there's nothing about the system that would constrain you from just utterly.
Sure.
See what I mean?
Yeah, I would say that would be. I don't know if that's I wouldn't use the word that's the design of the system. I would say that's a flaw of the system.
Well, it's also the brilliance of the system, because I mean, communism, you could argue, was a system that tried to keep everything equal and equitable, but it didn't work because it's denies.
Well, the flaw being that if you're an evil person, you can take advantage of it easily.
Well, if you're an evil person, you can take advantage of any system.
Sure,
That's kind of the way it goes.
Yeah,
okay. One other thing I wanted to add in this conversation, because Ray Kroc does have that epiphany about the church and how McDonald's can be as big, and he even says that McDonald's can be the new American church, where people gather and they break bread together. It's pretty amazing. So years ago, I wrote a chapter of my book, The Divine Commodity, about Coca-Cola and the origins of Coca-Cola. And the guys who really took that product and spread it came out of a Methodist background, and they deliberately employed Methodist missionary strategies for spreading Coca-Cola.
Oh.
And ironically, if you've been around church leadership environment, at least the evangelical church leadership environment in the last 30 years in North America, it's come full circle. Because now the evangelical church uses business marketing practices in order to advance the church. So similarly, Ray Kroc looked at the church and said, hey, McDonald's could be as ubiquitous as the church in America and be the gathering place and all that. The church has now become like McDonald's, where we franchise the church. And I have been in meetings and I have talked to church leaders who've talked about, we're going to plant a new site in this town and we're going to destroy the competition. Like, we're going to take over the other churches.
Okay.
I mean, I've had these conversations. I'm not joking. I'm not saying everyone is like this. But it's interesting because the church, to make a parallel, the church used to be the McDonald's brothers. It's a small community.
Right.
It's one location. We're going to care for one another. We're going to have our pastor. We're going to try to serve our people. And we're now franchising the church, becoming multi-site communities where we are going to beam in fast food services, basically. Yeah. And years ago, McDonald's had a motto, one world, one taste, which meant anywhere you go in the world, a McDonald's French fry is going to taste like a McDonald's French fry, even though the potatoes may be sourced from somewhere else. Like, it shouldn't matter. And that's essentially what's happening to the American church. As it gets franchised, it's the sense of, well, you can walk into, ABC Church anywhere in the country and you're going to see the same sermon because the same pastor's having it beamed all over the place.
Oh, okay.
And, that franchising of the church is what's happening now, and it makes me wonder what does that mean for the McDonald's brothers churches, right? The smaller communities. So anyway, but there is also this now backlash against McDonald's. I mean, it's been losing revenue. It's not doing as well as it used to because of the health conscious realities of our modern age, and people don't think McDonald's is good. So there's this, I think as McDonald's goes, so goes the American church. Just parallel the two. They at least the white evangelical church in North
Which
America.
one's leading the way?
That's the great question.
Oh, okay.
I think it used to be the church, now it's McDonald's. But watch what's happening to McDonald's and you'll see what challenges the church is having.
McDonald's, so we're in Illinois and their headquarters is based in Illinois, and they're moving out of the suburbs into Chicago to attract a younger millennial type of employee.
Because they all live down there.
Right, it's more attractive. So they want to get that mindset that, I don't know the whole idea behind it, but that's who they want to attract in terms of working for their corporate.
Yeah. So again, watch McDonald's. It's a great parallel for what the church needs to be thinking about.
Well, this might be a good transition. There was a article for the Something Borrowed. This is from Newsweek, and this is back in February. And it says, The Dark Side of Business, How Ray Kroc Movie, The Founder, Has Echoes of Trump. Did you read this?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, this is really interesting. So first of all, this movie was not made with Trump in mind. This movie was made way before his campaign got started. but there's lots of similarities. And the movie was released the day of his inauguration.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, so I'll read a little bit from the article. That says the parallel to the unlikely political rise of U.S. President Donald Trump is recognizable throughout the film, although it was in development long before the movie, before Trump began his campaign. The screenwriter says, "I wish the movie were not relevant. What's transpired in the United States has given the movie added resonance and relevance. If I had my way, I would have made the movie irrelevant and had a nice, safe country." It goes on to say, when you're talking about Trump and Croc, they're both successful win-at-all-cost businessmen who understood branding, especially the branding of a name. Croc understood the branding of someone else's name, and Trump understood the branding of his own name. And then it ends here. It says, it makes you wonder, is this what it takes to be in business, to be a jerk? They use a different word, but I'm going to say to be a jerk.
Keep it family friendly.
So just in light of especially everything going on with our current president, and how he became successful as a businessman, and and then how America got to know him on the show The Apprentice, and I mean the taglines are fire. It's not about like
right
building people up.
Here's the thing. I agree with the article to a point. I think both Ray Kroc and Donald Trump understand the importance of branding. And Ray Kroc in the movie even talks about that. What he was really buying was the name McDonald's. Because he could have replicated the fast food model. Right. But he just loved that name. He knew it was... Anyway. First of all, I'm not sure we know how successful Donald Trump really is. Because no one has ever... He's been bankrupt many times. And we've never seen his tax returns. So we don't know how successful he actually is. Number two, from my reading about the history of McDonald's and this film, I think it's fair to say Ray Kroc was brilliant. Like, he was a smart businessman. Yeah. I'm not sure Trump is that smart. And I don't mean that in a political sense or as a president. I honestly don't know if he's that smart. Because I think, I've said this many times, I don't know how you trust somebody who cannot seem to act in his own self-interest to act in the interest of the country. Yeah. Because he shoots himself in the foot so many times, and again, apolitically, in just really stupid ways that hurt him, right? So I'm not sure he's that smart. I think he's tenacious. I think he's ruthless.
Well, and I think that's what the movie is, because what I got from the movie was Ray Kroc is a visionary, and he's persistent. Yeah. To the point of being ruthless. Yeah. I don't think he wanted to be ruthless, but like it got to the point where like the question was, when push comes to shove, he's willing, to push back and that sort of thing. And I think that's where the similarities are in that, and that like, all I know about Trump is he's more successful than I am and most people, and that's how how people perceive him. Right. And he got to the presidency where Kroc, same thing. Like he created the largest restaurant, business in the world, and how they got there, I think is the parallel that that last line, it makes you wonder, is this what it takes to succeed? And they said in business, but succeed in anything is to be a jerk, which I think, like my point earlier, I don't think that's the case. I think it's the case for these two guys, which made it interesting that you can see this film and compared to what's going on in the world around us now. Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of frightening. Well, anyway, that article came out back in February 14th, if you want to check it out in Newsweek. So, all right, good find. You want to go something blue? Let's do something blue. So we did something old, something new, something borrowed. Something blue, blew your mind or blue chunks. What have you seen or watched or encountered lately? I'm going to do blew my mind. Okay. It was Logan. Logan? Yes. Yeah, we didn't talk about that when it came out. So this is It looked really depressing. Like it's dark. The trailers I saw, it's like I don't know if I can do that right now. Yeah, it's not for everybody. It is. Well, first of all, the obvious thing needs to be said is it's violent, and it is dark. This is rated R, isn't it? It's rated R because of the violence, and there's language and so forth. I am a fan. I never really got big into the comic books, but I was aware of X-Men, and Wolverine was always my favorite. And then in the X-Men movies, I liked them mostly. I thought Hugh Jackman was great in those films. He's the best part of those films. Yes. Yeah. And this is I think the best of those films. And here's why. Is because it has a simple, sweet story of a guy, and this is I guess a spoiler, but I mean, I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but he's dying. I mean, he's, you know, here's this guy who's invincible his whole life, and he's sick and he's dying. And he is trying to take care of his friend, Professor X. And then he meets this young girl and has to take care of her as well while he's being hunted. And so it's just about him struggling with his immortality and whether he wants to live or die, at the same time to protect these two people. And it's not about the world, it's not about the galaxy, you know, it's not about, is the United States going to blow up? It was about just these three people.
It's not another New York is going to be destroyed by an alien invasion kind of movie.
Right. Yeah. And so I wouldn't say it's the best film ever, but as far as superhero films go, it's definitely, the story is probably the best part. You do have to be prepared for how violent it is. And I compared it to, like, I mentioned The Watchmen. That was just so convoluted and heavy with like all these characters and storylines and things that you just understand. This was just simple and really well done.
You know, it reminds me, I haven't seen it obviously, but it reminds me of that new Mad Max movie.
Wait, did you say you've not seen it?
Not Logan.
Oh, yeah.
Mad Max.
Yeah.
Whatever that new one was called, Fury Road.
Fury Road.
Where the story is incredibly simple.
Yes.
But that makes it almost more compelling.
Yes.
So, okay, I may watch it.
You need to be in the right mood, I think.
I do have to be in the right mood, which I haven't been for the last 6 months. Okay, I also have something that blew my mind, and this is a little off course because I don't think I've recommended a book, which is not a movie, it's not a video, it's not a television show, but it's an audio book.
Okay.
So it's a little media.
Will they turn it into a movie, do you think?
I don't know. So I don't know how many months ago, I listened to the biography of Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernow, which is what Lin-Manuel Miranda read that he ended up making the musical based on. It's fantastic. It was great. I was traveling a lot. It was a 36-hour audiobook, so I got it done while I was on the road.
Wow.
Now, for the last month, I've been listening to Ron Chernow's biography of George Washington, which is 40 hours, and I'm almost done with it. And they're both fantastic. The reason it's been really good for me is I've kind of, going back to Trump, I can't watch the news anymore. Like, it's so disturbing to me. And what's become of the presidency is so disturbing to me that going back and listening to the story of George Washington, you know, the archetype of the American presidency, he's everything you want the president to be. I mean, he had his shortcomings, he had his problems, but the man had immense morality and virtue and dignity, and people kept trying to give him more and more power, and he kept saying no. I mean, simple things like, when you're the first president, no one knows what to call the president. Okay. Is it Your Highness? Right. Is it Your Excellency? And he said, just Mr. President. Like, I mean, that kind of stuff. And that's just a very, very small example of what is really a remarkable life. And the other thing that strikes you when you listen to the book is how much death these people had to suffer through. Like, everybody dies all the time. Like, all their children die, all their brothers and sisters die. Everyone's dying all the time because that's just 18th century world. And
not good healthcare. No,
it was a nightmare. But it's a remarkable story, and for those of you looking for a deeper understanding of American history, of the American presidency, of George Washington, and Ron Chernow does a great job at the beginning saying, you know, for so many of us, he's just a statue, or he's the ridiculous picture on the $1 bill, and you don't see them as actual human beings. And when you get into the story and you realize what his character was really like, what he struggled with, his temper, his flirtations with women, like, just in an appropriate kind of way, but it makes him into a human being with fears and struggles and complexities, and it's just a brilliantly done biography. So and I love the audio versions because it's a great way to pass time when you're driving and traveling and doing stuff.
Well, there's a good portrayal of George Washington in the miniseries John Adams.
Yeah,
on HBO.
I've seen that one.
Yeah.
I mentioned last time I'm watching the series Turn.
Oh, yeah.
Which he's in that, too. And he's actually depicted quite well in that during the Revolutionary War when he's a general. And, you know, he had a fiery temper that he often kept very well under control, but when it blew, it blows. And you see that depicted really well in that show Turn. So, okay, tell us what you thought about American Tail, Wall Street, The Founder, Logan. Or George Washington. So any last words? Anything you guys need to add?
I don't think so.
Okay, I have a last word. My website was, I'm not joking, literally hacked by the Russians.
You weren't kidding.
I was not kidding. It has been hacked by the Russians. We are fixing the problems. I apologize for the challenges we've had with that. It'll be up and running well soon, and we're going to have some new stuff featured on there, so go check it out. Until then, you can get my new book, What's Wrong with Religion, on Amazon, or if you really want to help me out, go to what'swrongwithreligion.com and order it from there. And if you're interested in bulk orders, and we've been getting some from churches, youth groups, colleges, things like that, if you want a bulk order, contact us at the website, what'swrongwithreligion.com, or support@skyjatani.com. And you can get significant discounts on bulk orders.
I will say, to add on to that, I want to apologize to my mother, because a couple years ago, she called me in the middle of the day concerned because her IT guy said that the Russians were hacking people's email. And I'm like, okay, Mom, whatever. So we made fun of my mom, but she was right. So sorry about that, Mom.
Yeah. The guy who manages my website called me up or emailed me. He's like, have you been to Russia lately? Because he knows I travel a lot. I said, no. And he goes, well, then you've been hacked by the Russians. So I'm like, oh, great. Okay, guys, until next time, you can kiss this episode goodbye.
How much is enough?
It's not a question of enough, pal. It's a zero-sum game. Somebody wins, somebody loses.